From trying to look up Elena's skirt at an SML meet and greet, to being caught dating fans, there are many creeps scattered around the SML community. So today, we're gonna look into what happened to the 7 most infamous ones. And there's no better place to start than with EDP445. Him and Logan were pretty good friends. So much so to the point where Logan flew EDP and his friend Felipe out to Super Bowl 51. At the time, EDP wasn't financially stable, and even had his own GoFundMe. So Logan saw this and wanted to help out. He was gonna sign him to a 6-month contract to be a part of the crew back in 2017. Logan offered him $5,000 a month to voice act. However, Logan ended up ghosting EDP, not responding to any of his texts or answering any of his calls. One of Logan's excuses during this period is that he was, quote, on a cruise. Now, believe it or not, Logan may have made one of the best decisions of his career. Fast forward to 2021, EDP was caught texting a and was planning to meet up with her. Fortunately, the wasn't real, and it was all a sting operation by YouTubers under the name of Predator Poachers. EDP ended up meeting with the YouTubers and thinking it was gonna be the but instead, they ended up catching him, and EDP's insanely dumb excuse is that he was there to, quote, pick up a cupcake.
Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake and then go back home.
Now, we can all clearly agree that this was a whole bunch of lies, and even the YouTubers that caught him knew, as they had all the nasty stuff that EDP said in his messages for evidence. Now, many of you may be asking, how would this have affected Logan if he had hired EDP? Well, thankfully, Logan ghosting him worked out, as if Logan did hire EDP, well, let's just say we would have a lot of problems on our hands. Most of you probably assumed that EDP was done after this. Well, he sure wasn't. In 2023, the YouTubers named Gideon and Skeeter Jean caught EDP again while trying to meet up with a and funnily enough, Gideon was wearing a cupcake costume.
Well, Brian, I just want to know, why do you think we're here? If you could guess, Brian, why do you think we're here? Could you answer me that?
And to add icing on the cake, just 2 months later, SML came out with a new video called Jeffy Catches a Predator, completely mocking EDP, making him a puppet, and making Joseph think that he was friends with him, and Logan even added the infamous cupcake quote in there.
What are you doing here, bub?
Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake and then go back home.
Nowadays, though, even though he had his YouTube channel with over 2 million subscribers terminated, while being banned from most of the internet, EDP is still active on very small, low-key social media accounts with only a couple hundred followers, mainly Twitter and TikTok. Although he's playing a game of whack-a-mole because whenever they find his accounts, he gets banned. But while EDP is chasing cupcakes, WH Dude was chasing the Arby's number 12 with a side of lolly. Oh, WH Dude, aka the most unemployed SML reactor ever. Where do we even start with him? In case you don't know, WH Dude is an SML reviewer / reactor, if you can even call his reactions that, and let's just say he's not exactly a fan favorite in the community. Even SML themselves took shots at him in one of their videos, calling him a crybaby. They actually used his YouTube profile picture for Cody's channel in SML movie Cody's Amiibo, and had Cody crying and titled the whole thing I Cry for Attention, which is a reference to how WH Dude squeals for attention in his rant videos.
Look at you cry!
Now, some of you might not be caught up with the community, and might be thinking, what did he do to get so much hate? Well, I think the best place to start is with his rants. Well, most SML reviewers at least try to be fair, or constructive. This dude would just go off on Logan, like full-on meltdown mode. Long story short, if you're planning to check out any of these videos, do yourself a favor and turn down the volume first.
Hey guys, this is Logan. I just wanted to say, this is the 1-year anniversary when I said, screw you all, I'm gonna make lots of Jeffy videos. Why? Because I wanna make lots of money.
Another reason why people aren't too fond of him is because he literally is the fun police. He would go off on rants in his videos about SML merch, even though that stuff is clearly meant for the younger fans. And sure, the product placement can be a bit much sometimes, but realistically, he's just complaining about nothing. By now, most of you are probably thinking that's it for him. But no, we haven't even scratched the surface yet on some of the more serious things he's done. And some of these things are just really, really weird. For example, at the start of this year, another SML YouTuber named Darkray dropped a video titled "The WH Dude Allegations Are Insane." And yeah, he wasn't kidding. In it, he laid out some serious stuff, claiming that WH Dude had been dating a girl who told him she was 16. And while all this was going on, he was 19 at the time. On top of that, there were a bunch of messages and moments that were just super creepy. So after Darkray's video blew up, WH Dude ended up posting a response video. But let's just say, it didn't really do him any favors. He basically just denied everything, but didn't show any proof or try to clear things up in a solid way. Meanwhile, Darkray came in with screenshots and actual evidence. So you can probably guess who most people believed, especially since WH Dude already had a rough reputation in the SML community. And to make things even worse, the response was barely a minute long. He only talked about one of the accusations and completely ignored the rest, which made him look even more guilty. And this caused the comment section to be total chaos. People were dragging him left and right.
There was also a claim about supposedly masturbating to this person, which obviously isn't true.
Ah, yes. The best defense against any allegation. This isn't true, guys. Obviously. Trust me, bro. Dab. Dude, this was probably the worst response he could have had. Honestly, I'm not sure if Logan lies more or if WH Dude does. We got real-life Mr. Winkle before GTA 6. Probably one of the worst responses to allegations I've ever seen. You should be ashamed, dude. But believe it or not, the allegations don't even stop there. Darkray came back with another video, claiming WH Dude has been talking to even more cupcakes. At that point, things were seriously piling up. So finally, WH Dude dropped a longer response, about 10 minutes this time. But honestly, it was not much better than the first one. Instead of explaining anything, he pretty much just brushed everything off with, obviously, this isn't true. And here's the thing. Sure, he might think it's obviously fake, but to anyone else watching, especially the people who don't know him personally, it's just not that simple. And all we see is one guy with screenshots and receipts, and the other guy saying, nah, I didn't do this, without showing anything. Naturally, people are gonna side with the one who came with proof. That's just kind of how this stuff plays out. Now, you may think we're done here, but we're certainly not. WH Dude is not only an unemployed SML critic and PDF file, but he's also a misogynist. In his videos, he has always made his misogyny obvious, and not many people really ever notice it. For example, Dub put together some sort of guide for girls, like a list of requirements if they wanted to date him, which is definitely not a weird thing for someone to make. But let's be honest though, nobody wants to date Dub. Now, what really stood out was the first thing on the list. He says he wouldn't date anyone to 19 or younger, which is pretty ironic, considering that he literally online dated someone who was way under 16. The main reason on why this is misogynistic is because Dub is claiming that girls can be controlled by men, as he's making rules for girls that would want to get with him. Nowadays, WH Dude is making non-SML related content to stay undercover after the accusations, getting way less views than his SML content ever got. But while WH Dude may have barely held on to his presence on the internet, let's take a look at someone who disappeared forever. The SMR was a pretty well-liked SML critic and reviewer in the community, and one day, his whole career went to shambles. On December 23rd, 2023, his Twitter account got fully hacked. The hacker posted his full address, which definitely isn't normal at all. After he got hacked, all of his friends were trying to message him and see what happened, but they got no response. Shortly after this, the inevitable happened. Rumors started circulating of him messaging cupcakes. It wasn't believed by most at first, until the messages actually got leaked. This wasn't good for him at all because he had a pretty good social media presence. So hours later, the SMR deleted all of his social media and completely disappeared from the internet. This left many fans in shock, and everyone eventually started hating him for what he did. Really loved watching him until it came out that he was texting cupcakes. After a while had passed since the allegations, the SMR ended up reaching out to an old friend of his, a fellow YouTuber named Super Mario Nick. He gave Nick a lot of information. He opened up to Nick saying that he was getting doxxed due to his address being leaked. He also sent a paragraph trying to explain that he'd been set up, claiming that all the allegations were just made up by a group of people who apparently hated him for no clear reason. But honestly, that came off as pretty suspicious, especially since there was a lot of evidence contradicting what he had said. So most people don't buy it.
What happened was, again, I was on Instagram and then I saw the SMR, not from the SMR's like actual Instagram account, but from his like personal Instagram account. He like messaged me and he said like, hey, it's the SMR, and he wrote me like a paragraph of text basically explaining that he was, you know, framed and whatnot, whatnot, and that the stuff that he did was, you know, just made up by a bunch of people who hated him, and I don't know if that's entirely true, to be honest.
The situation escalated so much to the point where there's even rumors that the SMR supposedly wanted to off himself. All of this caused the SMR to become one of the main examples that people in the SML community would bring up whenever someone got exposed for stuff like this. But while the SMR was perving out to Cupcakes, XBS was perving out to Elena Keys, the voice of Rose on SML. XBS is a notorious name in the SML community due to his absolutely outrageous simping for Elena, and he would go to any length to do so. But before we talk about that, I have to tell you about an Instagram account named Drama Plush Studios, aka Mike Van. You're probably wondering, why am I telling you about this guy in the XBS section of the video? Well, that's because he is secretly XBS, and he uses this account to hide his identity and stir up drama. He claims that this Mike Van guy is not XBS, but in this video from Instagram, we can see clear proof that they're the same person. XBS slipped up on the live stream and made it super obvious. And as we can see in this clip, he clearly looks down to turn the camera off on the Mike Van account. But now that we know that these two are the same person, which will be important later, let's get back to his shenanigans with Elena. He was known overall to just be really weird and creepy towards Elena online, always leaving comments on her Instagram posts. But what really took the creep meter to 100 is when he went to an SML meet and greet where Elena was there. And during this meet and greet, he got a picture like any normal SML fan would, which just something about this picture is so uncomfortable. Why is bro getting this close to Elena? That's just, bro, like, stop. But after he got his picture, XBS got a bouncy ball from the giant gumball machine, and while he was near Elena, he dropped a ball on the ground, and while picking it up, he tried to look up Elena's skirt. While he thought this was a smart move, the SML crew caught on to this and were laughing about it, and this was all on the live stream. But to make his simping even worse, on top of XBS being a total creep, he's even tried to take down this YouTube channel, because on May 24th at 2:30 a.m., my video about what happened to every one of Logan's ex-girlfriends got a copyright strike, which right away was pretty weird, because I've never really had any copyright problems with SML in the past. So I looked into it, and what would you know? It was claimed by the one and only Mike Van, aka XBS. And if we take a deeper look at this, bro literally claimed me on a random clip of Adriana crashing out at Logan. So obviously this was a false claim, but it makes you wonder, why would he want to claim me? Well, he actually posted an Instagram story right before claiming me, and I don't really want to read all this, but basically in this post he accuses me for having AI videos. I don't know what about this channel he possibly thinks is AI. I have a small team of SML fans, and we literally spend hours researching and editing these videos for you guys. But anyways, more importantly, it seems like the only reason he took this down is because he was white knighting over Elena. Like, brother, she's not gonna let you hit. If Elena really had a problem with this video, she could have taken it down herself. Like, it's not that deep. So anyways, after this whole debacle, I submitted a counterclaim, and then he started crashing out even more on Instagram, which you guys can pause and read over if you want. But after this, he responded by saying, I don't know how he can get me in court. It's an obviously AI made video, so he legally doesn't even own the rights to it since he didn't make it, which is like the dumbest thing to say because it's not AI. And yeah, sending a false copyright claim to someone under a fake name, even when you're not 18, would not win a case in court. But, you know, whatever. But eventually, he contacted YouTube and removed the strike, probably realizing how wrong he was in the whole situation. He must have quickly learned that nobody in the YouTube community likes people who false strike others' work. Copyright strikes are a serious deal, because if you get 3 strikes, your channel gets deleted. But while XBS might be a total creep and a copyright abuser, nothing XBS did can compare to the amount of stuff that came out about Rants. Rants was another SML YouTuber, kind of in the same lane as the SMR. They had similar content, and people often compared the two. Eventually, some allegations came out about Ray. People were claiming that he'd said some really inappropriate stuff to a old Cupcake. It was a serious situation, but similar to the SMR, he was also liked in the SML community at the time, so a lot of people actually stood up for him. One of those people, yet again, being Super Mario Knit. He pointed out that when the SMR got exposed, he immediately deleted his channel, which made him seem like he was guilty, but Rants at the time didn't do that, and some took that as a sign as he wasn't trying to hide anything.
So yeah, I believe
that Ray Rants is innocent, okay? That's the side that I'm proving, that's the side I'm supporting.
At the time, Ray Rants actually messaged Super Mario Nick, saying his defense was that the cupcake was being persistent, and he kept telling her to stop. But clearly, this was a big fat lie, because just a few weeks later, Ray Rants also deleted his channel, literally pulling an SMR. It was pretty much confirmed that he was guilty, and after that, he disappeared, and no one really heard from him again. But the community wasn't about to let this slide. Some people went too far, and there were even cases of doxing. But for the most part, people started collecting receipts, they dug up Discord messages, and put together evidence from other platforms, and by then, it was pretty clear he was done for. After that, the SML community's reputation took an even bigger hit. Things were already rough after that whole SMR mess, and now this? Yeah, it wasn't a good look for anyone. But now, let's talk about the one and only Zeke. And most of you probably already know who he is, but for those who don't, Zeke is one of the oldest SML crew members, and mainly voiced Mama Luigi. He joined the crew in 2008, but shortly ended up leaving in 2009 because he had to move to Colorado. But this wasn't the end of Zeke in SML, because in 2017, he came back to film the remake of Toad's Mistake, and supposedly some parts of the Super Mario Logan movie. But after this, Logan never invited him back to film. Now that we got that out of the way, what we really gotta focus on is how Zeke was a creep in the community. Well, none other than Darkrai himself made a video on him in August of 2024, exposing Zeke for liking Con. Very similar to WH Dude. I guess best friends always have something in common. This caused many fans to start hating on Zeke, as before he was completely adored by the community, and most people were shocked that the very man who voiced most of the OG fans' favorite characters is now doing these absurd things. What hand would Dub have in any of this? Pretty interesting turn, though Zeke didn't strike me as weird at first, but I later went on to learn how absurd and weird he can be. It's a shame that Zeke was a creep. I had fond memories of Mama Luigi from old Super Mario Logan, but Zeke's actions are unacceptable. Another thing about Zeke is his content he would post. He would sometimes post very questionable content, like online dating simulators and anime games that have suggestive characters in the thumbnails. And funny enough, one very interesting thing about Logan is how he has gut senses for when it comes to PDF files. I mean, Logan avoided hiring a PDF file not only once, but twice. Now, Zeke did make a response video to this on his channel, but he started it off by saying that he thought the drawings were supposedly of girls that were of age.
To his response, I had liked, retweeted, and commented on that art that he showed, because I was under the impression it was drawn aged up.
Basically, for the rest of the video, Zeke is apologizing for his actions and saying that he should have never retweeted that and had a private account. However, having a private account still wouldn't make retweeting and fantasizing about it good at all. Nowadays, Zeke went pretty inactive on social media due to the incident, but many people in the video comments did show him sympathy, hoping this gray area of controversy will be over sooner than later. Stay strong, Zeke, and have a good one. I made a lot of mistakes in the past too, that I still regret to this day, but I believe that if a person is willing to change and grow, they still deserve a second chance. You're one of the nicest people I've met. You always stay true to your heart and what's on your mind. I believe you and forgive you. Mistakes happen, accidents happen, no one is perfect. It's a part of life. Take care, my friend. However, at the end of the day, all of this made Zeke a creep, and many people in the SML community still don't like him. Some fans may have forgiven Zeke, but the same definitely can't be said about Shawn Mays. Shawn, also known as Shawn Lover or PlayStation Master, was a member of the SML community back in 2017 to 2018. He was known for being an obnoxious fan of GameCube Dude, and he's one of the more obscure creeps on this list, but he's easily probably the worst in this video. It all began back in February 2018. Shawn started making some really inappropriate and unsettling comments towards a cupcake on Twitter. This cupcake was actually a moderator from a Discord server that belonged to WH Dude, though that server has since been taken down. And if you think it can't get any worse, he would also sometimes send incredibly disturbing videos to cupcakes, basically telling them what he would do to them. Viewer discretion is advised here, as some of these clips are incredibly disturbing.
And as for Steven Blue Toe Plussy,
you look at. Thank you. I'll mention.
See that?
Is this your way of getting back to me?
You and me making out, having eat together at night, no parents, you know, having sex with with you?
Now, some of you may be asking, what was the age of the moderator in question? Well, to make matters 10 times worse, the moderator was that many years old, and Shawn was 22. After all of this madness went down, Shawn hopped on a podcast with WH Dude and tried to clear his name, but it just ended up making everything worse for himself.
Pluto plushie, I just want to apologize for harassing you in the past few months. I know you don't like it. Well, it's just that because I was a little bit mad at you for banning me at your server.
I have a question. So
Yeah?
because he banned you from his server,
You decide to harass him because of that?
and you made those comments that what?
After everything that happened, a lot of people started making videos talking about Shawn, and eventually he was removed from the SML community. You'd think that'd be the end of it, but things actually got more serious in July of 2018. That's when Shawn got caught showing his private parts to a year-old YouTuber. Even though he tried to deny it, Zeke and several moderators confirmed what had happened. Not long after, GameCube Dude saw enough and eventually spoke out about it during a live stream.
Yeah, you know what? That's something I can say about Shawn Mays. Shawn, you said in your videos that you're a fucking pedophile. People have seen it, and you're gonna start calling my friend a pedophile? I have half a mind to dox you, find out who you are so you can't pull this shit anymore.
And a thing with Shawn is that he can never learn, because in December of 2018, he got caught talking with a cupcake again, and this time, this cupcake was the ripe age of years old. He would try to defend himself in the comments of the video, but this just incriminated him even more. Listen, I'm sorry, okay? It's just when I look at her, it reminded me of my ex-girlfriend, or I got in a What? In addition to everything, during 2018, Shawn would also do a lot of other very weird things. Some notable examples are that he once peed on a live stream. He also made a completely false story about his mom getting offed, most likely to try to get sympathy from the community. And to make everything worse, he even got naked on a stream once. But fast forward to the end of December, and Shawn disappeared from the internet. Most people thought that this was the end of Shawn, but he proceeded to return in December 2020, just 2 years later. He would make a video announcing his return, but he would leave shortly again after because he ended up showing his private parts to another cupcake. However, this time, thankfully, it wasn't a real cupcake, and this was actually a sting operation set up by the YouTuber named Corson Drax. Before Shawn disappeared for good, he made one final response video trying to clear his name, and basically just denied everything, calling the YouTuber a liar and said that he's a good person.
Corson, you're a liar, you're a snake, and you're a toxic bitch. Why? Because you tricked me last night by asking me to show in my private parts, and I had to expose you why you did it. Because you're an ugly motherfucker in a I don't care. I don't know why Luis Young 50 and Puddle of Pieces are friends with you, but I have to address this. I hope everybody can clear my name, that I'm a good person, a good man, and I have a chain man with some big muscles.
Now, honestly, I'm not surprised at all if you cringed at this, but he was very clearly lying and had no remorse at all for his actions. Many people in the SML community hate Shawn, and also cringe from all of his nasty actions. The SMR was an absolutely horrible person. No one would deny that, but the things Shawn did was, geez. People who like him make me lose my hope for humanity. Every word that comes out of Shawn's mouth just makes me want to puke my guts out from cringe alone. These are definitely a crazy amount of creeps and weirdos in the community, but let's hope there's not more. And if you guys want to watch an SML channel that's not gonna be a PDF file, you should subscribe to me. I mean, there's not a whole lot of other options, is there? Everyone else who made videos talking about SML was not locked in and was trying to get a cupcake.